Hi, I brought up uniting the last video and what my project is all about. So I just want to reflect on it a little bit more and share my ideas with you. This is the map of Europe. 4 centuries ago, European princes and kings affiliated with one sect or another brought close to half a century of death and destruction to the heart of Europe. Europe, in a sense, announced a ceasefire and gave the world what became the Westphalian system, one in which national sovereignty became king, small minority took, plundered, pillaged the wealth of the so-called nation, while the majority suffered or at best survived. Worst of all, this blanket and blind ideology started having offsprings, spread, and has now infested our whole planet. It's an ideology which says, on the other side of this imaginary line we call border, you, the ruler, or this group can plunder, burn, damage this planet at will, and we will turn a blind eye if you do the same for us. This ideology gave us 2 world wars at the heart of Europe, 3 centuries after its inception, and after millions of death and destruction laid behind all over this planet. And this gave inception to another ceasefire. We created an organization we call the United Nations, operating on the same bankrupt ideology of Westphalian system. My friends, the world has changed. We live in a totally new world. Around the time of American Revolution, a little over 2 centuries ago, it would take a ship nearly 3 months to deliver goods and news from the west side of continent of Europe to the east coast of the United States. On land, news could not be transmitted faster than the speed of horse. People lived in their villages and counties for decades, not knowing what was going on 20 miles away. Which brings me to my suggestion, and why study America when we want to unite? Why study America as a civilization and also study American federalism? In 1776, 13 colonies united under a Confederate system fought a revolutionary war, threw off the shackles of imperial control, and became 13 independent states, or 13 nations. These 13 newly independent states lived in the east coast of what is now the United States. Living under a Confederate government after the peace treaty with Britain came to being, the wiser leaders realized disharmony, animosity, and war between these newly independent nations were in the future. They realized the confederated system they were living under was not conducive to their peace, prosperity, and happiness. They were fortunate and wise enough to unite and create the United States. Sadly, these wise people did not deal with the issue of slavery, and 8 decades later fought their bloodiest war and managed to keep the experiment in self-government and federalism alive. After A few more decades of injustice to the native peoples of this land and to the former enslaved people. Pages of history turned again towards violence. Europe, under the same corrupt Westphalian system, gave us the world wars, and the United States managed to stay on the side of the right and not on the side of the might, and stopped the bloodthirsty conquerors from Germany and Japan of the time. And the American experiment in federalism continues. Just recently, the highest office of the land, this land, the United States, fortunately for us, had the great-granddaughter of a former enslaved person and the son of a black African student and a white mother reside in it. Times have changed. Realities have changed. When American states united, it took people 3 days, people in New York, 3 days to get the news of a ratification of the new Constitution from the neighboring state of New Hampshire. 3 days for the news to travel a very small distance. Now, within 3 days, a person unknowingly carrying a virus can travel to all the continents on this earth. Two centuries ago, the system that we are living under, the same system, it would take a letter 75 to 90 days to travel to Europe and back to eastern coast of the United States. Now, in our day, one can send a video message, not just a letter, a video message, a lecture, a talk, a gathering, with crisp sound and clear picture anywhere on this planet within a couple of seconds. The current governmental systems of this world are based on the methods of travel and communication that were in place 2 to 3 centuries ago. Our world is a different one. A nuclear plant accident immediately has dire consequences across the oceans. James Madison, known as the father of the Constitution of the U.S., prior to participating in the Philadelphia Convention, which gave us the American Constitution, studied all the confederations of the world, ancient and modern. I want to repeat this. His friend, American minister to France, Thomas Jefferson, upon James Madison's request, kept on sending him books about the ancient and modern confederations. Madison studied these for nearly 4 years before stepping into the Constitutional Convention. He learned from the mistakes. We have his notes. He learned from the mistakes of the past confederations. He actually was participant in America's confederal Congress back then, and he knew what the states were doing that was wrong, that was bringing destruction to this union. And he wrote a small essay called Vices of the Political System of the United States. We, people of the world, can do the same, all of us. We have American history, literature, culture, and over 2 centuries of development of federalism to study and create a blueprint for a united world that will come to be, hopefully, in 2 to 3 generations. We definitely need to adopt a common language, a second language. I'm using the word adopt. This is not going to be forced on anyone. This is not saying use your first language or the second language you're speaking now. We need to, in addition to those beautiful languages, we need to adopt this common language. And I suggest, for our time now, it's the language I'm speaking in now. This is our home. And this is the womb of life. This is what the creator and sustainer of the universe has given us. It would be a shame if we destroy this sacred thing.